In just a few short weeks, we'll be heading to Berlin, Germany. It's the first time I've been there since 2016, first time seeing my son since 2018, thanks to COVID, and it is the first time that Dana and her kids will be leaving the US. If you are planning a trip to Berlin, this video will give you a few tips on saving money, how to get there, and how to get around while you're there. Welcome to the Down the Road Travel Channel. My name is Will Van Winkle. If you've never planned a trip overseas, it is easier than it sounds, but there are a few tricks to saving money while you're doing this. Everybody's heard the thing, buy your tickets on certain days. First time I made this trip overseas was in 1998, I believe. Since then, I've made this trip. I've crossed that ocean about 42 times. I've never noticed that flights may be cheaper if I book it on a Wednesday versus a Tuesday or a Thursday or whatever. Some people have luck with that. I never have. What I have found is that spring and fall are usually the least expensive time for Berlin. I think September through early November, February through early May. They're usually the least expensive times of the year to go. So if your schedule isn't dictated by school schedules, I'd highly recommend making use of these off seasons for your travel time. Just be prepared for unpredictable weather. It could be in the 80s in the afternoon and down to like the 30s at night. You never know what's going to happen there, so pack accordingly. To the days you travel are going to make a difference. So if you're trying to get there on a weekend, everybody wants to be on the weekend. That may be a little bit more expensive. We spent about a month looking for flights, and we found that if we stayed an extra day leaving on a Sunday instead of a Saturday, not only we extend our vacation by a day, but it saved us about $1,000 from the overall trip. Shop around on different sites. It goes without saying. Sometimes one of the big three, Expedia, Travelocity, Orbitz, will have the best price. Sometimes you'll find something better on Kayak or Cheapo Air. And look at combination deals as well. I've often found looking at a hotel room with your flight saves anywhere from $50 to $300. This time around, we're going with 5 people. We have three hotel rooms, and it was a $600 difference between just the flights and the flights with the hotel. So we got basically our hotels for about $20 a day by doing the packages. We are renting a car for a couple days while we're there, but because it's only a couple days, I didn't include that in the package. But sometimes that will save you some money as well. If you're living near a major hub such as Chicago, Houston, DC, New York, be sure and check flights leaving from those, especially during those off season. In 2016, I went in October, and the difference in the flight was $900 leaving from Nashville versus leaving from Chicago. Now, granted, it's a 7-hour drive, but after fuel and parking, I ended up saving $450, making it well worth the 7-hour drive. And the most important one, clear your browser history, delete your cookies, use incognito browsing. Once you've looked for those prices, those tracking cookies hold that information, and the flights tend to show up about the same price all the time. If you delete that information, use different browsers, different servers, different computers, or incognito, or which is what it's called on PC. I don't remember what it's called on Mac. But basically anything where you're disguising your IP address so that those tracking cookies can't quite find you. That's going to make a big difference on your pricing. Now, these are tried and true money-saving tips. Some will say the day you shop, the time of day, things like that will make a difference. While I've noticed it from time to time, the optimal days to look for pricing seems to fluctuate from year to year and carrier to carrier. So it can be quite difficult to guess. And if you're really counting on that to save money, that's not necessarily the best way to do that. I've also never noticed a price difference between doing the work myself and using a travel agent. It does take some work off your shoulders, and personally, the last time I used a travel agent, I needed to get 3 people on the same flight, but one was already booked. So other than that, I've never really seen any advantage to using the travel agent. I'm not saying they're obsolete, but I've rarely seen an advantage. So let me know your opinion on this in the comments. Now you've done the legwork though. Your flight's booked, hopefully you've got your hotel. Be sure to check your reviews and stay out of the undesirable areas. Now keep in mind, the undesirable areas of Berlin are still better than the okay areas of, say, Memphis, Chicago, LA. And I'm not trying to dog those cities. These are going by actual crime statistics. You're going to be a lot safer, even if it is a quote unquote undesirable area of Berlin. It's a fairly safe city. It's very clean. It's a huge metropolis. For the cosmopolitan area, it is fairly clean. And people do tend to speak English if they're under the age of, say, 50. So if you don't have a lot of German in your vocabulary, you'll still be able to get around. I will say, however, the most important thing to learn in any language is where are the restrooms, because the signs may not always be the same, and I can think of 5 different ways to say restrooms in German. So make sure you look into at least that one. You can wear a watch, you can carry a map, but if you don't know what you're looking for with the restrooms, you may get into a little bit of trouble. But now that you've got your flight booked, you've done your legwork, everything's ready to go, you need to figure out how to get around while in Berlin. Now that is up to you. There are many ways to navigate the streets of Berlin, from taxis to buses. By the way, bus number 100 will follow most of the same path as the tourist hop-on, hop-off buses. So if you're planning on doing some sightseeing, maybe look into a good guidebook and save some money there as well, because this is included in your regular train/bus ticket rather than the hop-on and hop-off, which are an extra fee, and they have nothing to do with the actual public transportation system. Elevated trains sometimes run below ground. Regional trains, subways, sometimes they run above ground. And trams, which are only located in the former East Berlin sections. Rental bikes, which can not only be rented from certain shops for a weekly rate, but you can also go to Deutsche Bahn. They have bikes all over the place. You scan them with your cell phone. If you have the right app, you can rent the bike right then and there. They'll send you a code, you unlock it, you take off. And of course, rental cars. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. I say rental car, most people go, whoa, I'm not driving on there. They drive on the other side. A lot of Americans think this. I actually just had this conversation several times this week. It's simply not true. Most major cities in Europe drive on the same side as we do, with very similar traffic laws. So just relax with that. It's basically former British UK colonies that are on the opposite side of the road. I've been asked about the Autobahn and how crazy it is without speed limits. There are sections without speed limits, but closer into towns, they do have them. Just be sure to stay out of the left lane. They don't mess around with the left lane there like we do here. You're supposed to stay out of the left lane in the US. A lot of people will just camp out in that left lane. They will run you off the road. They can actually report your license plate and you can get a ticket just because you were in the left lane. As I said, it is law in the US and very, very often ignored. But in Germany, if you see a car coming behind you, if they start flashing their lights, get over. They take it very, very seriously. In fact, double or even triple check before you get over to pass somebody. Speeds vary, with trucks being relegated to like 70 kilometers per hour. And they do travel the same roads that have no speed limit. So just be careful when passing, get back over as soon as possible, and you will be fine. For the most part, while we're there, we're going to be using public transportation. But we will be renting a car to go to a couple of theme parks, Tropical Island, which is a water park that is in a former East German blimp hangar, and Hansa Park, which is a little bit closer up to Hanover, I believe. But be sure to check those videos out. They'll be posted as I do them. I have driven the Autobahn on several occasions, and I've never really had an issue, although I did get pulled over for driving too slow on a city street at one time. I didn't understand. I didn't know what the speed limit was, because it's not always posted for that. You just pretty much stay with the flow of traffic or assume it's going to be a certain number, and I think that is 40 or 50 kilometer per hour, which is about roughly 35 miles an hour, give or take. I'm not doing the exact math, so if I'm wrong, please let me know in the comments. I am not a math major. Just make sure you follow the rules and only drive as fast as you are comfortable. When renting a car, check for things like unlimited mileage, something we no longer even think about in the US. It is still very common in Germany to get a cap on your mileage, and then you'll have to pay like 20 to 50 cents per mile extra over that. You want to check and see if it's a standard or an automatic. If you need an automatic, they do exist. They're a little harder to come by, so make sure you make the request in advance. And insurance. Some cars come with it, some cars come without. Some will have liability, which is called Haftpflicht. Some will have full coverage. And check your credit card as well. Just because it may cover insurance for a rental in the US does not mean it will do so for a rental in Europe. Now, I've used Expedia, Orbitz, Travelocity, those well-known American sites, but I've also looked at German rental sites. It's easy for me because I speak German, but some have an English translation tab up on the top, so it may help to do a Google search for rental cars in Berlin as well. And fear not, Waze, Google Maps, and most, if not all, web-based GPS services provide directions in Europe. Even though the street names may be mispronounced, they will still get you where you're going, and you can navigate those streets of Berlin like a pro. If you are planning on renting a car, there are a few things you need to pay attention to. Certain words, certain phrases, certain signs. Umleitung is a detour. A city name with the red line through it means you're leaving that town. Einbahnstraße is a one-way street. Usually it will have the arrow, so it's pretty easy to recognize. Sometimes it won't. It'll just be like a red sign. Let's say Einbahnstraße, and if you're going in there, you're going to get in a wreck. Those thick white stripes that go across a pedestrian crossing, that does mean in every country, even the United States, the pedestrians have the right-of-way. However, in Europe, unlike the US, you are expected to stop. So make sure you stop at those thick white lines. They call them zebra stripes. They have the speed limit sign, the in speed limit sign, no entry. There's a speed limit camera. You'll be ticketed. The rental car company will send you the bill. And then these last two signs mean that the road you're on has the right of way in the event that there is no traffic light. Now let's talk about public transportation. Öffentliche Verkehrsmittel. I've always found the easiest way when visiting is to get your ticket at the airport. There's usually a kiosk with BVG, pronounced BVG in German, or at the very least machines where you can purchase tickets. Berlin AB are the most popular tickets, with most people staying and visiting sites in those areas. That's closer to the center of town. With the new airport finally open after years and years and years of embarrassing delays, and hotels nearby, we chose the ABC ticket so that we can get through all of Berlin without any issues. Don't worry if you only plan on staying in the AB zones for most of your trip, but maybe doing some excursions to the C zone, for example, Potsdam, Wannsee. You can get an extension ticket for the day as well without having to pay for the full price of the ABC fare. You just get the AB. You can also get a BC if you're staying further out. AB is going to be the most popular reason. But for us, because our hotel is going to be in the quote-unquote Z zone, the ABC made more sense. And the main reason I prefer to purchase the tickets from the kiosk rather than the machines is if I have questions, or if somebody in your group is a Schüler, K through 12 student, or student, college or university, and has a valid school ID, you may be entitled to a discount. The weekly ticket also looks as if you can travel with one other person on the same ticket, but this was on the translation page, so I want to be sure of this before purchasing, and you don't want to inadvertently get a fine. So make sure you ask those questions while you're there. At the time of this video, according to the website, and this is again the translation page, I didn't go through this in German because I do read German very slowly. I speak it fairly normal, but I read it fairly slowly. I'm kind of backwards like that. But at the time of this video, children under 6 travel free if you have a weekly ticket or a monthly ticket. You must have a bicycle ticket if you're planning on bringing a bike with you, and maybe denied boarding if the mode of transportation is too busy. Now, this is going to be most common on the buses and trams, especially those night buses, which we'll get into in a little while. One dog or small pet is allowed. Larger dogs may be required to wear a muzzle. You get fines for riding without a ticket. They are €60, and ticket control agents are usually plain clothed. Although they're usually easy to spot because they kind of seem like they're up to something, you never really can be sure. And if you do not have a local address, if you don't have a local address, if you don't live there, If you're traveling on a foreign passport, they may actually pull you off the train and require you to pay right then and there. So, be sure of that. Don't try to ride the rails and jump the turnstiles. There are no turnstiles for the most part. It's not quite like New York, but it is still possible that you could get into some trouble with that. Tickets must be purchased and validated before getting on the S and U-Bahn. So street, elevated, and subway. They can be purchased and validated on the trams, but the stamp machines are often broken, and they can be purchased and validated on the buses from the bus driver. If you are trying to get on the S-Bahn or the U-Bahn, there's usually a big yellow box or a big red and white box, and that is the kiosk, the automated kiosk where you can buy your tickets. And then next to it, there's a little pole, probably about 4x4, usually red, and that's where you put it in to validate it. You cannot validate it on those trains. Short trips are not good on Regional Express, RE, or VBB trains. That's usually the red trains or the white trains. All others are valid within the zone of purchase. So, for example, if you have an AB ticket, that is good on the Regional Expresses within that AB region, or BC or ABC, or if you have an extension ticket for that day. Night buses also run, and now these may take a bit longer, but if you miss that last train, you're not stuck, so don't worry. Although they can be harder to find, sometimes they'll combine portions of multiple routes and typically take forever, only running every hour to 2 hours. You still have that option, and your regular ticket is good for those as well. Taxis are, however, much faster, but much more expensive. Friday and Saturday, night trains run. Most trains run all throughout the night, in addition to the night bus, and it does make life a little bit easier then, because then you have two options, not just the night train or the regular train. Getting around Berlin is that easy. If you know your destination, every stop has a map posted somewhere. Most trains do as well on the train itself. So if you don't know the area and you just kind of have the address, the BVG, the BVG website can get you there. It's bvg.de. And they'll even tell you how long you'll have to walk from the stop to your final destination. Trains are usually very, very reliable. Of course, construction and other delays can occur, but with some planning, you'll do fine. As I said, we will be leaving in just a few short weeks. We've got a lot of stuff planned. We're going to be going to Hansa Park. We're going to be going to Tropical Island. Sanssouci is a huge palace grounds. We'll be visiting the Museum Island and some other stops along the way. I'll also be doing some reviews of foods, restaurants, and things that you can find if you tend to get homesick and you need that little taste of home. You can still find some American restaurants, and there's just so much to do. We've got very little time to do it. I thought I would go ahead and get this one going so that y'all can look around and try to figure out if this is a place that you want to go visit. If you like this video, please like and subscribe our channel. If you like the music that's playing in the background, that is original music that I've written. Find it on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Music, wherever you stream live music. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all down the road.